Hey, what's up everybody? Michael the Fish Keeper here with a brand new video for y'all. So as you can tell by the thumbnail and the title of this video, I got something special to show y'all. It's been done before, you know, others have talked about it, but I believe that it's something that doesn't happen often, that needs to be talked about and shown more. Because the FX6, yeah, it's a powerful canister filter. Some say it does have a high price point, which is it does. But what I'm about to show you will actually kind of give you an insight why this filter actually costs so much, because you can actually do this with the filter. Let's get into it. Now, everybody knows that the FX6 has a purge valve on it. And what the purge valve is say, for an example, you got to clean the filter. You can hook the hose up to the filter, drain a little bit of water out, stop it, disconnect the filter. That way you're not going to get water shooting out, and take it and clean it. Or you could drain water from it and actually do a water change on your tank, which is we're about to get into right now. And real quick, if you bought an FX6, you're new to this hobby, you're not sure exactly what everything is, this is the purge valve right down here. That little white plug right there, sorry for the shakiness. That little plug right here, down on the side next to the pump motor on the FX6 is the purge valve. And so let me get all this cleaned up right here. Let me get into detail what we're about to do. All right, so for demonstration of this video, I'm going to be using I believe it is a 32-gallon trash can. I don't exactly remember, but I know it's 30 gallons minimum. So what we're going to actually do is we're going to hook up a piece of plumbing tubing to the FX6, put it inside the bucket, and then we're gonna drain the fish tank water inside of the garbage can, my bad, not the bucket, but the garbage can. So let me go ahead and show y'all what I mean. So first things first, make sure that valve is turned off. And all you're gonna do is undo it. It's gonna turn it, and that way you can take off this whole plug, even the red part. So that's what's gonna look like when you take it off, right? Now, sorry about that, I had to grab it. So this is the standard tubing. Let me zoom out for you real quick. So this is the standard tubing that comes with the FX6, right? It's not long enough for what I'm doing for the video. So I'm gonna be using 3/4 inch PVC flex tubing, okay? So what you wanna do is, before you do this, you know, don't turn any of these knobs. Otherwise, you're gonna get water shooting everywhere. So make sure those stay as is. We'll get to that in a moment. So all you're gonna do is put this plug off to the side. We don't need it. And what you wanna do is put this back on the FX6 all the way, because once you put the tubing on, you wanna screw that forward so it goes over the tubing and holds the tubing in place, right? So you're gonna take the tubing, you're gonna put it right over the FX6 purge valve, just like that. And then you wanna turn that red fastener, whatever you wanna call it, turn it. That way it locks that hose on, and that hose is not gonna come off, right? Okay, now with that done, we have to do this now. So for the purpose of this video, usually I've just put this, you know, all the hose all the way down there, but for the purpose of the video, just to demonstrate, I take the hose, I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna clamp it to here so it doesn't come out, right? Gonna go like this. That way that hose stays on there, won't come off. And now that it's on there, it'll drain into the garbage can. Let's go ahead and turn our attention back to the FX6. So before you do this next step, just take a double check at it. Make sure it's in there, it's tight. Make sure the tubing is fastened down tight. And then what you want to do is you want to turn off your output, okay? This is important. Make sure you turn off your output, because once you turn off your output, it's gonna force the water to come out of the purge valve, okay? Gonna turn that off. Now, once you turn that off, and then you open the drain plug, it starts forcing the water out of the plumbing and into whatever you're draining the water into, okay? So why that does that, I will be right back once it's finished. And so when I drain it, I only drain up to right here, right? To top of this line right here. And so as it gets to there, let's go back to the FX6 real quick. And so say you're done draining, right? And so what you want to do next is you want to go ahead and turn the purge plug off, which is just, you know, turning that up, and then turn your output on your FX6 back on. That way the FX6 stays running and we're done with this hose. So now let me show you what's next. So as I mentioned, I'm only draining the FX6 into this trash can for the purpose of the video, but also I was like, wait, my fish room is in my backyard and I can just drain the FX6 to outside. So what I did was I came over here while I'm thinking of it, I marked the water line so that way next time I don't have to drain into another trash can. I can just drain it right outside, and then once it gets to that line, we can go ahead and do what we're about to do right now. Let's get to it. All right, so now the next step is to fill up the garbage can of fresh water to be put back into the tank. But before I put water in there, I take my Aqua Plus, well, the Fluval Aqua Plus water conditioner, and I go ahead and I just pour it in there. That way, as I'm filling it up, it gets mixed up in that water pretty good and cleans it up. That way, when it goes into this tank, it's ready to go. So let me go ahead and go get the hose and get that all set up. And one thing before I fill up the trash can that I forgot to mention is when you're filling this up, you want to keep the garbage can or whatever container you're using for the next step, what we're about to do, don't keep it flat on the ground. Keep it a little bit elevated, whether it be like a rock like I'm using right down there, like a rock I'm using, or you know, you can use a piece of wood or anything like that, but you want to keep it at an angle. That way, when the hose, as it's sucking up the water, hint, hint, as it's sucking up the water, you're gonna get that little last drop of water. That's very important because obviously you don't want to leave no water in the container, then you got to dump it out. But anyways, keep it a little bit elevated and it will help you out a lot better. So let's go ahead and get into it. All right, now that the water is full in the container, whichever container you're going to use, we're going to come back to the FX6. So we kept this part off for this specific reason. We need to put the hose back on, okay? So some people like to use different hose, the same hose, etc. We'll just use the same hose for the purpose of this video. Slide it back on, close it up, make sure that's on there tight, not too tight, you just want it hand tight, okay? And then what you're gonna want to do is you want to put the hose inside whatever container you're gonna be using. In this case, it's gonna be the garbage can. I'm just gonna put this in here for right now and then adjust it after, because you're gonna want this all the way down at the bottom. I'm just gonna do this just to get this started. And so now what you want to do is, so this will be the same concept as it was for the outtake. So remember, we turn this off and then it just drained out. Well, this is gonna be the opposite. You're gonna wanna turn off the intake. That way you're gonna force the purge valve to suck in the water, right? So we'll go ahead, we already got the hose in the water. We'll go ahead and turn off the intake and then hit this valve on the purge valve, right? And so as you can tell, the water is coming out, not as fast, but it is draining from here. So now I got to put this down so I can adjust the hose to go all the way to the bottom. That way we get no air in the filter. Be right back. And then what you want to do is close this off here, and then turn on the outtake or the intake. And that is it. That's all you have to do. So now, all we have to do now is we got to disconnect this. So one thing I like to do is, let me get this here. One thing I like to do is I like to put the rest of the hose inside of the container. And the reason being is just in case there's any trapped water, right? You don't want water going everywhere, right? And obviously, you know, once you start doing this method, if you choose to, you find ways that work for you, right? So what you do is make sure that's off, it's off. Go ahead and unscrew it. And then just pull. Oh, yep, never mind. There's no water. And so, as you can tell, the FX6 is running. And that is how you do a water change with an FX6. Just that simple and easy. And also, one important thing, make sure you put the plug cover back on the purge valve. And one thing I like to do once I'm done with all that, so I like to take the Fluval cycle biological enhancer. It helps with the ammonia and stuff like that. I like to just put that in there to replenish anything that got out during the water change. So anyhow, doing a water change with an FX6 is honestly easy and efficient, right? We didn't get water everywhere, no mess, no cleanup to do besides just putting the hose away, stuff like that. But man, I want to know how many people actually use this method to do water changes. So if you actually use this method, or if this is your first time hearing about it, drop it down in the comments, because I'll be the first to say it. The first Fluval filter, canister filter I ever got was the FX5. Now, throughout the years, you know, obviously I use the FX6s, but I've never done that method until recently. And I absolutely love it. It makes life so much easier when you got to clean tanks. But what else does it do besides being a canister filter? Use it for water changes. But what else could it be used for? Stay tuned for part 2. We will find out. In the meantime, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're not already subscribed. And make sure you hit that ding, that notification bell. That way, when I drop a new video, part 2, you'll get that notification, all right? I appreciate y'all. Have a great one.